on the team.
He play like because I was.
He doesn't get into it.
Oh, okay. Because I was
No.
watching it the other
Yeah, no,
day.
he is about it.
November 18th, 2021, voting session to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pauline, will you please call roll?
Present. Here.
Mr. King,
Here.
Mr. Moran,
Here.
Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Mr. Ross,
Here.
Dr. Eunice,
Yep.
Mr. Zaitsky,
Here.
Ms. Castro.
Here.
Announce executive session.
Yes, there was an executive session held by the board to review legal issues as well as issues dealing with contracts.
Okay. Not a minute, right?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask for a motion to amend the agenda by adding to approve an agreement with George Insurance releasing and assigning claims against the pursuant to claim number 6380081344. May I have a motion? Mr. Bloom, second by Mr. Moad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have the presentation.
We have a presentation with Mr. Padilla. He's doing it virtually. Yeah,
Yes,
you're on.
You're on. Good.
thank you. Ed, my screen share is disabled. Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to run through an update on the Center Grange project, and also on the call is Drew Surjanic. Drew's a project manager working along with me and the design team to further the project. So what we want to talk about tonight is our update. Is everyone able to see the screen at this point? Our first slide?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to cover three primary objectives to update the board and then answer any questions that you all have. One is a design update, including the work that has been completed since we've started. We're going to talk about the budget and then the schedule, and then we will review the design in a little bit more detail. One of the first things we wanted to run through is just kind of highlighting, and this is just a representation of all the work that we've completed together along with the administrative team. So we've had a number of meetings with Dr. Perry, the principal, special education at I. Miller facilities, and talked about finalizing the program and adjacencies. So when we show you the design concept from earlier revisions, we've made some further enhancements of the design and have finalized the layout of the building for the kindergarten expansion and the gymnasium addition. We've been holding bi-weekly design team meetings with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structural, and also civil engineering. We have met with the administrative team to talk about other alternates and how we're going to approach the scope of the project, and develop these alternates to help control cost on bid day also. So we've received that input. With the administrative team and civil engineer, we've set up meetings where we've discussed scope of work from traffic flow, soccer fields, the impact of the additions to the site, and stormwater. The civil engineering site survey has been completed. all the topography, all the water lines have been shown, sanitary sewer, everything on site has been complete. And they are meeting routinely with the municipality and the water authority to help build that schedule for land development, which is kind of our last slide when we'll talk about the schedule. Dr. Perry provided us with actually information from the geotechnical data from when the school was originally constructed, which we learned was a fill site, I guess associated with some adjacent construction of a mall. So we immediately shared that information with the geotechnical engineer prior to their do the drillings on site. And right now that report is complete and it is under review with the structural engineer. And probably not to our surprise, they did evaluate and encounter some soft soils that might have some low bearing capacity. There'll be issues with settlement that they'll want to address. And we're awaiting recommendations on things that will influence the design of the foundation and so forth. But that has not yet been finalized. So we've completed quite a bit of work in the last month and a half or so to further the design.
John, is it safe to say that identifying that now certainly is going to help us down the road with not having to create change orders?
Yeah, great comment. As they finish their recommendations, I would not be at all surprised, and Dr. Perry and I have had this conversation, we may want to do some additional testing because we don't want to have the engineers over-design something. We want to find the right balance, and that incremental cost in the testing, if we need to do additional testing, will far outweigh a change order. And most importantly, during construction, that can cause delay. So we'll report back to the superintendent on what they find collectively as a team and what we think the best step forward is for the project. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Drew, and we're going to trade back and forth talking about the site plan and the floor plan concept. Drew?
Good evening, everyone. So this is the existing site plan based off the civil engineer's design. The existing building is in white. The newly proposed additions are in light blue. The improvements to the site include new parking area, relocation and adjustments to the play fields, and the relocation of the existing playground area. So let's jump to the new parking area. So the existing parking lot provided 36 normal parking spaces and 2 handicap parking spaces. And the existing parking lot also provided queuing for 36 passenger vehicles. That drop-off lane was approximately 210 feet. With the new parking that is proposed, that provides 46 normal parking spaces and 2 handicap parking spaces. And the proposed lot also improves that queuing length to about 35 passenger vehicles, which will definitely help with the existing traffic that is backing up on Center Grange Lane. And that length is about 400 feet of drop-off lane. Soccer fields in the rear of the building. There are currently 8 soccer fields on the site. The proposed condition would be 7 soccer fields once the addition is built. The effects of the soccer fields, 5 of the 8 are minimal effects, and they will be reused in their existing conditions and locations. Only 1 soccer field will be relocated and resized. The existing size of that field is approximately 165 by 105 feet. And the new field would be reduced to approximately 95 by 70. One field will need to be relocated, but its size will not change. And those are actually illustrated in the dashed green lines there on the site plan to the north of the new classroom addition. And then only 1 will need to be removed completely, and that's represented in the dashed red line to the plan east of the new addition. So all in all, you're only losing one soccer field. Along with that, portions of the existing irrigation system that serve those soccer fields will need to be removed or altered, specifically in the area where we're removing that soccer field and where the new playground is being relocated. The civil engineer did a little bit of research, and that irrigation system is actually owned and paid for by the soccer league. So that we would assume that's the responsibility of the soccer league to have those adjustments made in order to accommodate the new additions.
So can I interject here real quick, Drew?
Sure, Dr.
So can everybody see that? Everybody understand the concept of the soccer fields and what's going to happen? So really, you're really just losing one field, which is this field right here. And that's the only field that would go because the playground's going here now. The two fields that were side by side here are just shifting this way. That one would remain the normal size that it is. This one right here would be smaller size, a smaller sized field. And then the irrigation system, because we are doing some work here, is going to need to be adjusted for the new area. And we'll just have to work with the soccer folks. Assuming they want to continue the irrigation, they're going to have to work with us in order to make whatever changes there are and absorb whatever cost that is to deal with the irrigation. Okay?
I have a question. With the back part of that field,
Yes.
is it, could it be usable with fill? We add another,
All the way, it's right up against, it's pretty much up against the woods back there.
that's all woods back there?
It's pretty steep back there.
Right, that last field's right up against the woods.
So no fill or anything could be put back there?
Over at Hillside.
That's that deep, huh? It's that steep? All right.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, it's very steep.
You want to ask questions?
At the end.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, I'm
move-
sorry.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Just add that we haven't found any documentation on the existing irrigation system, so we're not exactly sure to what extent, that system extends into that field.
And we're efforting to try to find that. We're working with the soccer folks. I know we've reached out. Obviously with youth organizations, people change, different people come in and come out. I'm not exactly sure who was a part of the original planning for the irrigation system, but we'll continue to work on that before we get too far into things.
Yeah, the other point to make here too is the civil engineer is really showing the layout of these fields. We are not proposing grading or construction associated with that. It simply is showing the layout of the number of fields that can be accommodated and really what's not going to be impacted by construction.
Right, there's not going to be any construction work done on those fields. We're just going to line them and move them out. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, and then just to orient everybody, this is the current building plan as it stands today. Then as discussed in past meetings, the main objective of this project was to extend the program of the school to a full day kindergarten. And we found the best way to do that was to increase the best way to do that was to increase access to other wings by essentially connecting them. And then you have, if you go back one slide, John, there. And then implementing an extension of the main corridor to feed the need for a new gymnasium. And obviously then how this translates into a floor plan is now that the kindergarten first grade wings are now connected to create a loop for better access, additional kindergarten classrooms, extend the kindergarten wing, and the perpendicular single loaded corridor, just those things then. And the gymnasium is an appendage bookending the main corridor, better access. And sorry, I'm getting a little lag on my computer here. So we'll go into the classroom addition here in a little more depth. The classroom addition includes 4 new kindergartens to extend that program to a full day kindergarten, as we we said before. It also includes the addition of a music classroom, 2 flex classrooms, additional special ed classrooms, large group instruction that caps the intersection of the 2 new corridors. This both helps gain natural light into the interior of the space and the corridors of the addition, and also breaks up the linearity of those longer corridors. And along with this, there's also support spaces such as bathrooms and storage rooms.
In addition to the 2 flex classrooms that are there, the gifted ESL and the 2 speech rooms that are side by side, the wall could be removed there, and that'll be a regular classroom if we needed the space.
Yeah, similar
well
to
as
LPI, these rooms are, have some built-in flexibility to them where you can reduce the size, expand the size. It can be used for larger groups or smaller groups.
Money for a little bit.
And then for the state's adoption of the 2015 International Building Code, this building is required to provide a storm shelter for its occupants. And this is all based off of the geographic location of the actual project. So there's really no way around it. So what this really means is that this specific section of the building will need to be designed and constructed to resist the forces of a storm compared to its surrounding structures, and essentially will have the ability to function independently from the rest of the building. Again, in like a worst case scenario situation, such as a tornado. And when Todd Lane was designed and constructed, this code was not yet adopted by the state, so it's not an issue for that building.
Right, and it's really just based on the location. It's there's a curve that swings through Western PA that when the state adopted this version of the code, it identified this area to have this requirement. So we'll be meeting with the code official shortly to look at the extent of their interpretation of what is required for reinforcing the roof structure and the window glazing impact that's a requirement of a tornado shelter.
And every authority having jurisdiction is different. One might view this differently than another. So it's up to us to sit down and discuss those issues and walk through the building with him. Then we can jump down to the gymnasium and the new parking lot addition. Just to note, the new parking lot and the gym kind of go hand in hand with one another. Parking lot would not get constructed if the gym is not accepted as an adult.
Can you repeat that last sentence? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
The gym's an alternate,
Okay.
so if it would choose not to get accepted because of certain pricing or anything else like that, then the parking lot wouldn't go in.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah, you would just have your existing parent drop-off loop and parking lot as it stands today.
And the way that designed right now, John or Drew,
Yeah.
you do
What's your
not
question,
have,
Lucky?
What's that?
my question is, the way it's designed, you do not have to go through the school to get into the new gym, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so that could be, the school itself could be shut off completely.
Yep, there's doors right here.
Yeah, this could function after hours as totally just the gym and would not have access to the rest of the building.
Egress doors being put in to shut everybody else out.
And you have facilities there, restroom facilities included right there, in there also, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Wait, we had talked originally?
You have to have those, and they'll be part of the new addition and the security of that portion of the building where you won't have to walk through the existing building to get to any support facilities, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
It's all included in the new edition of the gym. So then design also incorporates an exterior walkway that would connect the first and second wings, which would be intended for staff use. It would also be a convenience, especially on a nice day, to access the new classroom addition from the second grade wing. It'll also be fenced off and secure as well.
And I think, Dr. Perry, you pointed out this is no different than Todd Lane. You have a similar situation where certain weather conditions,
Between
students can leave and safely cross.
Yes, that is correct. Our fifth grade wing, there's a walkway from the fifth grade wing to the cafeteria that when the weather's nice, they can't cut across instead of having to go all the way through the building to get there.
Right.
So this would be similar to that.
John, I have
And then
another question, John.
Sure.
Looking at that from the kindergarten wing to the first grade wing, there's that open area there. What's going to be in that? Is there going to be grass, cement?
Working on that too, to figure out the best way to keep landscaping down there.
That was my question. How are we going to maintain and upkeep that area?
Looking at options to keep the landscaping minimal there.
But how are we going to get in there to,
Well, right now, this space right here, would allow you to bring the equipment in here and go back up.
Yeah, John, why don't you go back to that enlarge?
We're working on trying to come up with something in here that would eliminate a lot of that.
okay.
We're good.
And then the extent of the exterior connectors also includes tying in the new parking lot to the new entry of the gym. But again, that's all dependent on if the gymnasium at alternate gets accepted.
Okay, we're going to move into the budget, and then if we want to come back to anything, we can certainly address any questions. But Dr. Perry asked us to talk about what are we seeing based on other projects and bidding, and it's I think many of you have construction-related fields know and have heard what has transpired. This is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics from just August. There have been key building materials that have been either supply chain interrupted or just their availability in Pennsylvania that have had an impact to contractors. What is driving the cost most significantly is the inability to get it. So these are kind of the high flying things and that we have seen that are routinely impacting construction costs. Now, when you look at this slide, this 15% is not a representation of the total cost of the project. It's a 15% average over these particular materials. But when you look at on a national stage, since 2020, there has been a significant increase in inflation. And these factors are the cost of raw materials. There's continued labor shortage. I mean, you read all the time of businesses that can't staff their practice based on availability of workers, supply chain interruption, and the cost of shipping materials has been the biggest issue. One of the things that is unique that I have not experienced in 25 years is one of the things that we're seeing on bid day when we see there's a premium associated with something. It's a result of subcontractors that are quoting prices that are only good for 15 to 30 days. And there's a condition on certain things like hollow metal frames, roofing, insulation, just to mention a couple, that in order for a general contractor to get in a production slot, they have to agree to receive the material with an unknown ship date or a cost. And if you don't agree to those conditions, they won't hold your spot in production. That's the kind of thing that is driving the market condition to create an increase over something like this. So some of the things that we have done, let me jump to the budget. We have and always have built cost escalation into our models. We have the IBC shelter code requirement that we talked about earlier that has been incorporated into the budget, utilizing some estimating contingency. We're waiting on the geotech impact to see what it will take to accommodate the site soil conditions. And of course, the gymnasium alternate in the parking lot will give the board the flexibility on bid day to determine financially how you want to proceed. and what other alternates that we want to consider. We have escalation built into our model. It represents about $15 a square foot. That's this $415,000. And the way we try to target our escalation, it's a little bit of guesswork. We do not have a crystal ball, but we estimate to the midpoint of construction. So if we're thinking 12 to 15 months, depending upon whether the gym is included or not, we actually do not estimate to bid day. We estimate to the midpoint of construction because contractors cannot purchase all the materials for the entire project all at once. So we think that gives us a little extra precaution. The phasing on this project for many of the board members that were through Todd Lane, this is not at all a phasing premium like Todd Lane was. We were constantly moving, setting up barriers, moving kids, students, staff, changing schedules, impacting the site. This will be a very simple phasing plan. Start the new construction and only move the kids to when it is complete. There are some alternates that when you see in this category, looking at data throughout the existing classrooms, some door access control, these heat pumps, the majority of these items can be accomplished over summer construction. This is not at all the Todd Lane project. It's very straightforward construction and it's all one-story construction. So we do have escalation built into our model. And at this point, we will just have to continue to monitor other project budgets and keep the board informed of what we're seeing happening in the bidding market. As we get closer to bidding, if we can come up with any other alternates that are acceptable to the board, we can certainly bid those. So try to give you a little bit more flexibility. We've also, in certain circumstances, when we hear steel joist has been a very big topic. Amazon has apparently pre-purchased, hundreds of thousands of tons of steel for warehouses that are being built all over the country. Because this is a one-story structure, we may contemplate
That's not on our end, Nick.
We're not going to tell you what we're contemplating. I don't even know what we're contemplating. How about, is Drew? Drew, can he hear?
Planning an enema.
Hey, Drew,
Drew's muted.
you're muted.
Yeah, can you guys see my frozen as well?
We lost your John.
But John's out.
Somehow we lost John. So he was at the point where he was talking about, well, you were listening, I'm assuming. But I don't know what we're contemplating he was about to say.
I have a feeling he's going to show up right behind me in a second. Hold on. You finish that thought.
Basically, give them a blank check.
Give me 1 second, guys.
Nick, what's Drew's position?
So Drew is like the project manager. If you remember when we did the Todd Lane project, we had
Like Mark?
Keith Carper was here.
Oh, okay.
Crabtree, remember Keith Carper?
I can't say that. I
So
mean,
he's the guy in charge of this project. John oversees him, but he's the guy that'll be on site.
this guy.
Yes.
Okay. What was Mark? What was Mark
Mark was our clerk of the works
for us?
for us.
He worked for us.
Drew will be the guy that would be the most on site all the time. He's the one running the meetings when we have meetings, talking about design and questions. John is involved with all of it, but he's the guy, he's the day-to-day.
He'd be doing a lot like what Mark did?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Mark worked hand in hand with kind of.
Mark would, yeah, a clerk of the works would work hand in hand with these guys, with him.
Do we think we need somebody like that again?
I would recommend it.
I thought so, but I just wanted to.
Okay, let's go.
Um,
Nick, will this presentation be
we'll put everything online like we did with the Todd Lane project. We'll have an area online strictly related to the building project. So any of these types of meetings, any of these types of presentations we have, they'll all be put on the website. Everybody go.
All right, you guys still with us here?
We're still with you. We're on the edge of our seat to find out what we're contemplating.
What we're contemplating.
That was the last word you said, John. Was done. Let me share my screen with you now. I'm going to bring up the presentation on my end because John's computer froze, so we lost the presentation. The PowerPoint was on his screen, so.
We're on the next to the last slide.
Yeah, that's why I had to go grab him because I lost the PowerPoint as well. Let me know. Can you guys see that there?
Yeah, we're good. That's up for construction. We're on 18 maybe.
Yeah, we were.
Okay, so apologize that my browser timed out. I don't know what that means, but can everyone hear me again?
I'm gonna go to 18, I think.
Okay, so this is a national statistic of what we've seen in the last year. And primarily it's been driven by inflation associated with the cost of raw materials. Contractors have shared ongoing labor shortages, supply chain interruption and ability to get materials and ship materials has had an impact in these costs. And one of the things that's most notable that we have not experienced in 25 years that I've been doing this, subcontractors are only offering a pricing structure to the bidders of 15 to 30 days.
Right, you told us this, John. Go ahead to the next one.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
How far into the budget did I get?
So we went through the budget, you went through the escalation costs, you went through the escalation factors. You were gonna continue to monitor it, and then you made a comment that you were contemplating something. That's when we lost you.
Yeah, because of Amazon purchasing up steel, you were contemplating something.
Yeah, we have, sometimes we have heard recently with projects bidding Mechanicsburg School District, we did our high school, and during bidding, contractor said, would you guys consider doing an alternate design since steel joists are so hard to get for steel beams? And we've done that. It's slightly less tonnage. It's still code compliant, but it gives contractors a little bit of flexibility on bid day that they can obtain pricing. So there may be some alternates that we suggest just based on that very issue. Again, we want the contractors to have some flexibility to bid the project, but we have to continue to monitor what we hear, and we'll make suggestions back to the board, the admin team, on what we think may be advantageous. Okay, so Act 34 public hearing. While this is not a PlanCon project, PlanCon is still in a moratorium. The law still exists, and because the area of the additions, both the classroom and the gym, exceed 20% of the existing building area, we're going to be required to hold an Act 34 public hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to demonstrate to the public its need, the cost, and the schedule of the project. And generally, here's what you can expect as a board in the upcoming month or two. We will work with financial advisor, John McShane, and the administrative team to put together an Act 34 booklet. This is the booklet that is made available to the public and is used at the actual hearing. The board must adopt a Act 34 maximum project cost for the new construction. And we're going to walk you through that formula. That formula is determined by the Department of Education. The district would then place an advertisement for a period of no less than 20 days. We then conduct a hearing with the district, the solicitor, and the financial advisor. And then the board has to wait 30 days to receive written comments from the public. Now, in a PlanCon scenario, all this information gets submitted to the Department of Education. The hearing is actually transcribed, and the proof of publication of the hearing is submitted. That is not a requirement since it's not a PlanCon, but we must hold the actual hearing itself. It's a formality. The board can entertain how we want to address questions during the hearing, but it is not a debate. It is a presentation of the project. We can solicit the information from the public, and then a lot of times districts will respond to, the key questions, if there are any at the hearing, on the district's website, how we might answer those issues. And here's where that falls in time-wise. So, we're approaching
John, very quick, John, this is Tom.
Yeah.
What impact do the public comments have on the whole process?
Honestly, it does not. It's just a formality that you must present the information to the public. And then I think as a team, if there are compelling questions that we want to respond to or react to, but the board is not obligated to answer questions at a hearing. In fact, that's usually not a good idea. So it's really just a formality, Tom. It's an important one. I don't want to diminish that, but we're just required to hold that hearing. Now, interestingly enough, if you only look at the square footage of the classroom addition, we would not trigger the hearing. But because we won't know if the board accepts the alternate for the gym or not, we have to hold the hearing because, as you can see here, we're thinking it needs to be somewhere the end of January or early February. And then bidding is not down until April. So as a precaution, we're going to suggest that we do have the hearing. That way, if we get favorable bids and you want to accept the alternate, you can simply proceed into contract execution. Okay, now barring that interruption, I apologize. Does anyone have any other questions or want to go back at anything?
John, I have a question. This is Lucky.
Sure.
When we were doing Todd Lane, when we were going through what we're going through now, I had asked at that time, solar, heating, air conditioning, the school district with solar. Since we're going into, and I don't know how much has, since we did the Todd Lane, when we were talking about it, you said at that time, it really wasn't financially good to do it at that time. And my question is, at this time, has it gotten any better for our new construction on the new wings and the gymnasium? Would we be to save the school district or the taxpayers of this township through the years, save money by putting in solar? Has that gotten any better?
Well, the cost of the materials has, but there are a couple of unique conditions about this building that I think the short answer is I'm gonna ask Tower Engineering to look into that to give an answer that we can file back through the superintendent. But the IBC storm shelter provision is going to make it very difficult to put equipment on the roof. In fact, over that section of the building, we're not permitted to put any equipment whatsoever. So we'll have Tower look at if there's an opportunity to do so. We have not seen that pricing structure come down enough that the payback has been there. Now, when districts are seeking LEED certification, and we've been able to apply for DCED grants, and you're also in a reimbursement scenario, those two additional funding sources have helped offset that additional cost that has made it more reasonable. But neither of those two are eligible for this type of project. So let me ask the engineers to research that and see if there's some middle ground that it could be used as an educational component perhaps, or to what extent would a solar field need to be. Typically, they don't like to put them on roofs because as soon as there's a roof issue, you're now taking your solar panels off, and pad mounted on the ground has been the majority of what we have done for solar arrays. But your fields, your soccer fields and parking and everything else could be another factor to consider. So we'll look into that a little bit further and get back to you.
Okay, I have a question. When you did State College,
Mhm.
you did some of it with solar, right?
We did, and that did receive both grants.
Okay. Did you put any on the roofs there, or did you use fields?
In that particular case, it was on the roof because it was a 4-story section. That high school site had little to no space to even consider putting them. But we did put some roof mounted on the 4-story section.
Okay, up to this point, and I don't know that you kept in contact with State College. Has it been proven for them to be economically wise for them to do it or not have done it?
That's a great question that I could ask them to answer.
Would you please?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Any other board member questions?
John, this is Joe.
Yeah.
What kind of roof do you anticipate putting on that new addition? Not the gym, but just the wing.
Actually, on both, what we would propose is a low slope EPDM roof, a rubber roof to meet the energy code. One of the things that you'll notice in the design that's different from the earlier version, we pulled the addition away from the existing building because the existing roof structure has wood frame trusses, and that created a 3-hour fire separation unless we pulled it away from the existing building. So it would be a low slope EPDM roof. There could be an alternate though for a different roofing material. That's an easy alternate to develop if the district wants to consider something like we did towards Todd Lane of a built up scenario.
Thank you.
Sure.
John, I have a question, Dr. Eunice.
Yeah.
With the alternate, using the materials that you were talking about, if you used an alternate because the steel not being available, is it a lighter grade steel? What's the alternate that you're considering? And is it more labor intensive to put on, that we would require more labor costs in the bid? And how strong is that compared to, say, the steel that we spec'd in for the building that we wanted to put in? And do you, when you make that change, if an alternate, if you say you make that recommendation, who pays for you to do the engineering on it? Do you include that, or does the school pay for the reconstructional engineering to allow that other material?
We've done it a couple different ways, and it was a result of when we discovered the issue. Sometimes we've already awarded contracts and had no knowledge of an issue, and then the contractors will come back and say, would you consider this scenario? In that instance, we would say, well, we'll work with your steel fabricator, show us what you're suggesting, and our structural engineer would review it. And in other instances, we actually designed it in advance so it could be bid separately. And usually as structural engineers are looking for some additional services to do that. But again, this is not a multi-story building. They're fairly short spans. And that might be something that it was really hot in the summer that a lot of contractors were asking us to do that. And now we're seeing it's kind of cooled off. So, we also don't want to put alternates out there that might confuse the bid package.
Could they not ask to do the alternates because in fact that they know that price, if they get awarded the bid for the original material and then find out that that's an alternate way that could be accepted, and then leave that money in the bag where they'd end up making an extra 100,000 or so?
Well, we would have to evaluate if it was designed and bid, we would write it as an add or a deduct because every contractor has a different approach on how they're going to get their steel, where they're going to get it from, and who the suppliers are. I think what we would ask is before contracts are awarded, is that they clarify their intent before the board makes a suggestion on which alternate to accept. But they wouldn't be able to pocket money and install the other system once that alternate has been either accepted or rejected. And that's our responsibility to monitor that and make a recommendation to you as a board.
So you don't consider that a compromise from what we decided we wanted to build this building and it's going to be the best and everything, that we compromise to make something a little bit different because we're pushing it a little bit to get the materials that we can't normally get? Like in your opinion, do you have any other jobs going right now or anything out to bid right now that you're seeing a hard time getting them? And how about time frame? If you start the project, you have steel, you have concrete in the ground, it rains, it snows, it rains, it snows. It doesn't get done because you can't get the material. And then someone has to redig the footers, has to redig the French drains. Like, who's going to pay for all these different things if we're waiting for material? I mean, if they don't build that into the cost, who's going to pay for that?
So let me ask your first question. There cannot be any compromise. So whether it is a steel beam design or steel joist, it must be compliant and engineered to the safety requirements. And they cannot substitute or change things without the review and approval of a structural engineer, the engineer on our team. So I don't want you to feel like anyone could slide something under the radar. Any change of that magnitude would have to be reviewed and approved and sealed by a structural engineer.
Okay, but how about what I asked you about if the project starts and then it drags out because you can't get materials, maybe even both types of materials, and you have to redo things over again because of time restraint where you just don't have it? Who's going to pay for that?
So it depends on the scenario. We just awarded a project for Northern Lebanon in August. It's a new elementary school. It's about 150,000 square feet. And block is coming up out of the ground, and we cannot get hollow metal frames, which is usually a 6 to 8 week time frame. It is now moved to 6 months. Now, in a brand new building, and even in this construction schedule, we have 12 to 15 months built into the schedule. However, hollow metal frames to be grouted solid need to be set as the block wall is erected. And if you can't get the hollow metal frames, then you have to come up with an alternative. So in that particular case, we said, we'll give the contractor the option to provide knockdown frames and secure them in place. And that's a district decision. We have to wait and see what the issue might be and the cause of the delay and who shares in the cost. So it really depends on the specific issue. But there have been situations where school districts have said, we will split that premium in order for you to maintain our schedule. So depends on what the issue is.
So it comes down to like a change order, John?
Yes.
And then you'd be negotiating a change order.
Yeah, and usually, like just with Todd Lane, and our front end documents would be very similar. Our first course of action with this type of change would be a time extension and no cost. So if they claim they can't get something and is not a critical path item, we could consider extending the schedule, but at no cost. Now, in this particular case of Northern Lebanon, they are closing 4 schools and consolidating. So the district could not offer a time extension. So it was to their best interest to say it was about a $25,000 premium, and they offered to split it with the contractor. But we also made a case and point with the contractor saying, this is not a precedent. This is an individual issue, and the district is not going to continue to spend money when you entered into a contract which agrees to furnishing the materials and the labor. So we'd be consulting with your solicitor as well, probably.
Gotcha.
So what other, looking forward in your crystal ball, are you on top of the other contractors, subcontractors that are going to be coming up next to see if they're having trouble getting, say, the trusses or whatever's next in what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably 3 to 5 schools going out to bid before this project will go out to bid. So we'll continue to monitor. We're kind of hoping that we got over that hill that I showed you in the earlier budget slide, that things will settle down. But what we don't see is construction costs coming back down to what it was. It will come back down. If you look historically over the last 50 years, RS Means tracks data throughout the nation. And there are peaks, valleys in 08 when the recession hit, Katrina, natural disasters, there are peaks and it will settle down. The question is how quickly and how far, but that we don't know.
Do you have any jobs that are actually in the works that are going besides that one, or any further along that you're finding this to be an issue with material?
Yes, we are. Many of them.
Does it seem like it's different materials across the board, like HVAC, steel, wood, roofing, block, concrete?
Generators, doors, and frames. I mean, hollow metal frames is the first time I have ever heard that availability, but it's steel. So, but for instance, I don't want to scare anyone. An emergency generator used to be a 3 or 4 month leadway time. Now it's 6 to 9 months. Well, if you have a 12-month construction schedule and there's a long leadway item, then we would impress upon the contractor to make sure you get that submittal into the contractor, into the design team, so it could be approved and ordered. But if you wait 6 months into your schedule, then they are the cause for the delay. So we have found those instances where contractors are still shopping bids, they didn't pay for equipment, and some of that is their responsibility.
Yeah, but in those clauses that you said 15 to 30 days, they're not responsible after that, that they can also ask for more money, right? They're only guaranteeing them for 15 to 30 days. In that slide that you showed?
Right. That's an issue between the contractor and the sub, and not the school district.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member questions?
Just from a community perspective, the other 7 fields that are left, will they be affected by construction? Will use of those fields be affected during construction?
I would say temporarily they may be, and just for safety's sake.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what impact have we inquired, what impact to the organization it'll be to have one less field?
I haven't even gotten to that. I just met with the civil engineers on Friday of last week and asked them to design what it would look like with regards to the new layout versus the current layout. So I haven't even gotten to that yet.
Okay, thank you.
And then obviously we're not digging any dirt yet. So I mean, we do have some time to figure those things out.
John, I have another question. For the people in the community that are listening, I saw a number, the final number approximately was $11 million to do what we want to do, right?
11.3.
I didn't hear you, John.
Yes, 11.3.
Okay, 11.3. If we were not to do this project now and this district decided to do this 5 years down the road, with the way the costs are, with materials, with bond, borrowing money, et cetera, what would you say this project would cost, say 5 years from now, with your background, with your knowledge and experience? How much percentage would this project increase from now until, say, 5 years from now?
I do need a crystal ball for that, but what I can tell you is I have not seen in 25 years construction costs come down. Over a 5-year period, we would typically plan anywhere between 3 and 5% of escalation. But what you will see in 2020 and 2021 is double-digit inflation. So the question is, where will we be bidding in terms of the bubble, on the way down, on the curve, or on the way up? But now when you add another 4 years to this, it will most certainly be up.
Well, let me ask you this, John. What's been the highest percentage that you have seen cost of building, an addition, a school, et cetera? What's the highest you've seen it go up percentage-wise?
Well, we did Dover High School, which was a brand new high school 3 years ago. And that was bid 3 years ago. And it came in at $170 a square foot. It was about a 200,000 square foot high school with an auditorium and so forth. Northern Lebanon that bid this August is an elementary school, and it came in at $210 a square foot.
So that was an increase of what? Was that double, you say?
$40.
$40.
$40 a square foot.
Okay, any other board member questions? Okay, John, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, everyone. Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. Public comments.
Public comments.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to public comments on agenda items. I know that the public has asked questions and wants the board to respond right away to the questions that are being asked. I think the board has been very clear that we want input from the public. We want a dialogue with the public, but the board does not want to have a banter back and forth in this setting. So the board is looking to take questions and then come back to the next meeting and do the best we can to answer the questions that were asked, assuming we can answer the question. And if anytime anyone in the public has a question, feel free to call my office and I do the best I can to answer them. Okay? So any public comments on agenda items?
Agenda item?
I'm sorry?
That presentation is an agenda item, correct?
Yes.
Randy Patterson, Pine Haven Court. I just have a couple questions. Just so we understand, and maybe those out there do, but from more so for my clarity. The irrigation that we spoke of for the soccer fields, right? The fact that the soccer league is responsible for the irrigation. Is that due to the damage that would be done from the construction? That was our question. I was kind of talking with some of the people within the league as this was going on. So, and if the school is willing to put forth 11 million plus, to this renovation, and the sprinkler systems cost 10 grand to fix, are you saying that you are going to have that soccer league responsible for that? Or will you be open to contribute funds, given the amount versus what we are putting forth? Okay. That was the one question. And then I wanted to just clarify, the gym is not needed to support full day kindergarten. I just want to know if we could just get that clarification. And when they listed the alternate there, new gym was one of them, as well as, was it an AV system? I could look here. Hold on here. Alternates were, so up in the top, new construction costs with classrooms, and then there's new construction cost was gym, and then site work and demo. And then under alternates, it was AV, data, tech, existing classrooms, door access, all this thing. So I'm trying to pinpoint here what it would cost without the new gym. So all those alternates, which would be taken out from the gym if we don't do the new gym or the construction of the gym and just do the classrooms. So I'm just trying to figure out if you could break that out for us or help us understand that. Also from an escalation factor, obviously this guy, the gentleman that was just presenting to us is an expert in his field, but I do follow construction analytics, just given the situation here. And 2021 construction inflation, you can find it online. The one I'm looking at right now is updated on 11/10 of 21. As of 10/15, 2021 estimated for non-residential was 4.6. It just jumped up though again, November, it's actually 6.8, but it is projected to go back down in 2022 a bit. So his statement of in 25 years, he has never seen this. Of course, none of us have seen anything like this, right? So in his history of experience and his expertise, I appreciate that. But I don't think that taking his statement that it will not go down is something that he is knowledgeable enough, truthfully, because this is an unprecedented time, but knowledgeable enough to say, especially if you look at the analytics, it is actually slated to go down about at least 2% right now, just for 2022 compared to now. So I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind, and all that information is online. Another thing, what are the plans for the new gym, right? So again, in the midst of all of this, the one thing that we're lacking as a community is understanding the justification of it, right? So we know that we can have full day kindergarten without this extravagant gym. So again, I think if we could just have an answer to the justification as to why we are looking at this project, are there other plans for it? Are we looking to have high school games at this gym? You know, what are your plans for this new gym if we do this extreme project? So that's all. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Any other public comment, agenda items? Okay. Move on.
Okay, so moving along. Number one, to approve the voting session minutes for the October 21st, 2021 meeting that is found on attachment A. Any discussion on that? Motion by Mr. Ross,
Second.
second by Mr. Zaritsky. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report, Mr. King.
Following, excuse me, following bills and reports are submitted for approval. Pay bills, confirm the October 2021 general fund payments in the amount of $1,286,876.47, attachment B. Number two, confirm the October 2021 cafeteria fund payments in the amount of $73,577.70, attachment C. Report to approve the October 2021 Berkheimer report, attachment D. I will make that motion. Second.
Second by Mr. Bloom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Board policies. Number one, to approve the following additions and revisions to the Central Valley Board policies, which can be found on attachment E. Those policies, 113.1, discipline of students with disabilities, which was a revision. Policy 113.2, behavior support, also a revision. And policy 113.4, confidentiality of special education student information, that was new. Number two, to approve the authorization of the school district solicitor to file an appeal to the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court in the matter of a Beaver County Court of Common Pleas, docket number 10676-2021.
So moved.
Second.
Number three.
Oh.
What about the new one we added?
That's the new one. To approve an agreement with George Insurance releasing and assigning claims against the pursuant to claim number 6380081344. Any discussion? May I have a motion? Mr. Zaritsky, second. Mr. Ambrose. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr.
It's my understanding that we're being held up by the solicitor's office, still making correction,
They just gave the,
straightening out language.
that's not true, but I got them today. I
Good.
got them this afternoon.
Okay, good. Thank you. So these contracts
We'll have them signed.
are signed.
We'll have them signed.
Will be signed. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay. Education items, Mr. Ross.
Number one, to approve, confirm the release time, staff development request. The location and conference is listed on the left. The individual or individuals taking in those conferences are in the middle, and the dates are listed on the right. Two, to approve an educational service agreement with the school at McGuire Memorial to provide services to one of the district's students for the 2021-22 school year at a daily rate of $310.31. Attachment F.
Any discussion? May I have a motion? Mr. Bloom, second. Mr. Moab, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moab, anything?
Nothing for technology.
Okay. Mr. King, athletics.
Number one, to approve the high school marching and jazz bands for a trip to Orlando, Florida from March 15th, 2022 to March 20th, 2022, attachment G. Number two, to approve the following winter coaching staff stipends pending receipt, review, and acceptance of all clearances. Gymnastics, Carrie Mulford, assistant coach, $900. Swimming, Lydia Hawley, diving coach, $1,200. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Miss, I don't know who's second. Who's
I second it.
Mr. Ross? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, guys, don't give me a chance for discussion. Extracurricular, Dr. Yanis.
FYI, field trips, Veterans Day Parade, Beaver High School Band, 11/11/2021. Schroeder Industries, Leedsdale, Salt Lake, CNC Imperial, Bots IQ, 11/17/2021. Dutch Ridge Elementary, Beaver, TL Gifted, 11/22/2021. Westminster College High School District Honors Band, 11/16 through 11/18/2021. Newcastle High School District Band, 127/128 to 2022. Slippery Rock University High School District Jazz Band, February 18th of 19th, 2022. CCBC High School, Middle School Enrichment Academic Games, December 16th, 2021, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Building and Grounds, Mr. Zaritsky.
To approve and confirm the following building usage requests pending final approval from the superintendent regarding the review of the organization's health and safety plan, as well as the liability waiver sign off. There's the building, organization, date, and the purpose. And I do want to thank John Badia and his team for taking time to put that presentation together for us and present it to the board and the public for review. And I also want to thank Dr. Perry and the maintenance staff for getting the work done at Todd Lane with minimal interruption to the school down there. So,
I thank Mr. Stefanik as well for his help.
and I'll make that motion.
Okay, second, Mr. O'Neill. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Just
carries.
a quick comment, the December 2nd date for the youth basketball has been moved to December 1st because that's the same night as our reorganization meeting. So they said they moved a day ahead. So that'll be corrected in the minutes.
Personnel, Mr. Bloom.
Yes, we need to approve an FMLA request for a paraprofessional from September 28, 2021 through December 22nd, 20. Number two, to approve the retirement of Anna Maria Tassone, paraprofessional, effective November 19th, 2021, found on attachment H. Number three, to approve the resignation of Kimberly Cunningham as a building monitor, effective November 19th, 2021, found on attachment I. Number four, to approve Alan Chrisman as a cafeteria general worker, 3¼ hours, at a rate of $12.50 an hour in accordance with the CVSD agreement, pending receipt, review, and acceptance of all clearances, effective November 19th, 2021. Number five, to Kimberly Cunningham as a paraprofessional, the rate of $13.50 an hour in accordance with the CVSD agreement, pending receipt, review, and acceptance of all clearances, effective November 30th, 2021. Six, to approve an FMLA request for a paraprofessional from October 18th, 2021 to January 4th, 2022. Number seven, to approve Amanda Rogers as a building monitor for Center Range at a rate of $10 an hour, effective November 30th, 2021. Dr. Perry, any additions?
That is it.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Mr. Moab, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You just want to say anything because you have nothing?
I have nothing at this time.
You have nothing. Okay. Public comment.
So before we get public comment, I would like the solicitor to please update the public on where we are with the whole mask mandate. Based on the latest happenings that have gone on, because I know that's all topic everyone wants to discuss, so.
I'm sure everyone's kind of familiar with the history of the case being filed on the mask mandate, the Corman case. That mask mandate was challenged in the Commonwealth Court. The Commonwealth Court on November the 16th filed an opinion saying that the acting secretary's order of masking was void ab initio, which means that as of that date, it was no longer effective. The Commonwealth filed an appeal to the U.S., not the U.S., but the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And under the rules of appellate procedure in Pennsylvania, that acts as an automatic stay, meaning that the mandate stays in effect until the court rules on it. The petitioners then asked the Commonwealth Court to lift the stay. Commonwealth Court then on November the 16th entered an order lifting the stay, but that was not to be effective until December the 4th of this year. And essentially, the order gave a roadmap to the governor on how he could comply with the regulatory procedures correctly, saying that the governor is allowed to have immediate action of a regulation to meet an emergency, which includes conditions which the governor finds may threaten the public health, safety, or welfare. And that then has to be published in a publication. And that publication has to be, the last date for the publication, if that order could be, and happens to be December the 4th. So the governor, if they determine that they want to declare an emergency, can do that, publish it. And if that's published by December the 4th, then the mandate, the stay will stay in place. The other option would be if the governor doesn't do that, the Commonwealth can then go to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and ask that the stay be reinstated. In my opinion, probably the easiest way, since there's a heavier burden to go to the Supreme Court and ask for the stay, and I'm not going to go through all the necessary things they have to prove. If the governor and the Commonwealth want to try to reinstate the stay, they'll probably pass an emergency declaration, have it published by December the 4th. And then we'll see where it goes.
And if that doesn't happen?
If it doesn't happen, if nothing happens, then on December the 4th, the mandate entered by the governor is lifted, and the districts will then be able to revert back to whatever their health and safety plan was. In Central Valley, the health and safety plan was optional masking. So if nothing happens on by December the 4th, as I've just outlined, then automatically our health and safety plan would go optional without any further action, because that was stayed because of the mandate. So that's basically where we are right now. We just have to wait until December the 4th to see if anything happens. And if it doesn't, as I've said, then our public health and safety plan is in effect with optional masking.
The district will communicate through my office as we know more as we get closer to it.
But for clarification, Mr. Malo, the busing mask mandate remains.
Busking mask mandate remains in effect because that's federal. It's not state. So we have to comply with federal law on that, as we have in the past. So on the buses, they'll still be masking, but if nothing else happens, we'll revert to optional masking as of December the 4th.
Thank you.
And even if the stay is reinstated, the governor has said, now, I won't get into that, January the 17th.
Okay. Thank you. Public comment now?
Jen Checkett, Center Township. I just actually, whenever we were watching the presentation, something he said about the public comments being a formality, anyone that knows me, that's the one thing I heard. I started working on my speech to come up and say, but I did just want to thank you, Dr. Perry, for addressing that. You guys will start to answer questions just to give you time. I think now that some of this, hopefully, obviously, we thought this in months before. And as the president of the PTA, our organization is built on the mission of bringing the community and the schools together. And whether you guys realize it or not, you guys are a huge part of that. And over the past couple months, and I know there's legal issues and stuff like that, but I think now is a good time to take the holidays, come back in January, and just all get these kids through the rest of this school year. Okay. I think that's what I wanted to say. So thank you again. We all just want to work together. My friends who come to these meetings for you guys, for the most part, we just want to learn how you guys make decisions, and we want to help where we can. We're not here to attack you guys and make you feel like you're not wanted in the community. We just want you guys to help us feel like we're important to you guys too. So thank you.
I'm sorry, I have one thing. Mr. Moed in a previous meeting had brought to the attention of the board and the community that I think there was only 3 students from Central Valley enrolled in kindergarten at Baden Academy. And then I think you said you were just going to follow up and confirm that. Did that happen?
There's 5
So 5 students in all of our district that are in Baden Academy for kindergarten.
in the academy, yes.
Okay, all right. So I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Total number of students there.
29.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Okay.
Dr. Perry?
I'm going to be very brief. I'll be out of the office tomorrow, but available. If you need me, feel free to call. I will not physically be in the office tomorrow. A reminder to the public that early dismissal will be on Wednesday for the Thanksgiving holiday. And I just like to wish everybody in the community happy Thanksgiving and enjoy a couple of days off.
Board comments? Mr. Zaritsky?
I just want to thank Dr. Yunus for his time served on this board. It's, I guess his officially last meeting, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank him for his time served on the board for the community.
I echo his comment about Dr. Yunus. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
Ross?
Same thing, nice having you as a board member to work with, and your ideas, and you had good ideas throughout your time here, and well,
Thank you.
okay.
Do you want me to leave you for last? I'll go.
Sure, yeah.
Not go with everybody else. So.
Same, Dr. Yunus, you should be proud of the work you've done and the time you've committed to the district and the improvements we've had over that time. Time well spent. It was great having you on the board, and you should be proud of the work you've done. One other thing I want to bring up, we had middle school and high school teams participate in the STEM related competition down at Heinz Field. It was Power Pittsburgh, sponsored by Shell. I'm not sure how our middle school team did, but our high school team came in first. So the students were Emma Thompson, Gwen Prince, Ryan Hardick, and Paul McElhaney. A big deal. I mean, these wasn't just a local, this was Pittsburgh area, the Mount Lebanon's, Fox Chapels. Our kids came in first. It's an all senior team. That's something to really be proud of that they accomplished. That.
And we've had them come and present in the past.
They have. And the whole point of the competition was alternate ways to power Heinz Field this year. Every year they do something different, and this year was an alternate way to power Heinz Field.
Excellent. Excellent. Mr. King?
I just like to echo what everybody said about Dr. Yunus, and wish him well in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill?
I'm gonna miss you.
Dr. Yunus?
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to the board. It was a good time. It was a good run. We had a lot of challenges, especially with all these different things. I think our staff and everybody has really stepped up to the plate. The board has stepped up to the plate to try to accommodate everybody the best way that we can. We have rules, we have regulations that we have to follow. I know they're not always the best. I don't want to get into all that. But it was a good meeting, everyone. I'm still going to be around. I didn't die. If anybody needs anything, I'm here if I can help. my arms are open to help anybody out. I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas, and wish everyone well. And thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your comments. Happy Thanksgiving. And on that note, may I have a motion?
I second it.
Mr. O'Neill, Dr. Eunice, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.